Alright. So you said your problem was what?
The activity based.
Your problem was activity. Hubert, activity. You were I know, right? First yeah, so that is it. So this question, let's go to the requirements. It says calculate the budgeted full production cost per unit of each product using the company's current method of absorption costing. All working should be to 2 decimal places. So we are supposed to calculate the cost of the product, and we are supposed to use the absorption costing for the I. Then the II is to use the activity-based costing. So let's go through the question and let's write out the preambles. Now we're reading. Who will read? Someone should read it. Okay, you let me read. DAFCO manufactures 3 products, X and Y. Demand for X and Y is relatively elastic, whilst demand for product Z is relatively inelastic. Each product uses the same material and the same type of direct labor, but in different quantities. For many years, the company has been using full absorption costing and absorbing overheads on what? The basis of direct labor hours. This is very important. Selling prices are determined using the cost plus pricing. That is also another thing we'll be looking at later under pricing decision. But I know you know about the cost plus pricing, which means that we calculate the total cost, and based on that, you will do a markup. Then we will get the selling price of what? The products. That is the cost plus pricing. This is common within this industry, with most competitors applying the standard markup. Alright, so that is there. Budgeted production and sales volume of X and Y are for the next year are 20 units, 16,000 units, and what? 22,000 respectively. So we want to take that information important because the units to be produced, X, Y, and Z respectively, 20,000 here, 16,000 here, and then 22,000 here is important. So we're going to underline that. The budgeted direct costs of the 3 products has been given to us. In the next year, DAFCO also expects to incur indirect production of Ibazi, this, which are analyzed as follows. So we are giving the cost pool and also what? The cost drivers. Then let's go to the flip side. The following additional data relate to each product. Batch size in units has been given. Number of purchases ordered per batch. Machine hour per unit. We will come to order. DAFCO wants to boost sales revenue in order to increase profit, but its capacity to do this is limited because of its use of cost plus pricing and the application of the standard markup. The finance director has suggested using activity-based costing instead of the full absorption costing, since this will alter the cost of the product and may therefore enable a different price to be charged. So everything here is actually nothing we need. It's just story the examiner is telling us. And then from the beginning up until where I see direct labor, nothing there is actually what we need. But then it's just a story. It's one of the things the examiner does. So how do we go with the absorption costing? If you remember, we mentioned that under absorption costing, I told you that even if the examiner doesn't say it, overheads are absorbed using what? Labor hours. So that is the fundamental concept. But then in this question, the examiner has said it, so we know it is clear. Now, we are calculating the cost per unit, the production cost per unit. So how do we go about that? So production cost per unit. If you remember, we said that to get the cost of a product, we bring direct material cost, direct labor cost, direct expenses, and that gives us what? Prime cost. Then we add what? the factory overheads. And we will be doing workings for that. And that gives us the production cost. Then if there is non-production overheads, what do? We bring it, and that gives us the total cost. Then we do markup or profit, and that gives us the selling price. So this is cost plus concept. In this question, the examiner said we should solve. He said we should do this. Production what? Cost. So it means that we need to look for direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, and what? The factory overheads. So let's go to the question. We've been given the product. So in the presentation, we're going to put the product up. X, Y, Z. We're working in dollars. The first element, of course, there is direct material. That one we don't have to think, so we bring it up straight. Remember, the examiner said the budgeted direct cost for the three products are this. So these are all per unit. So this is 25. Y is what? 28. Z is 22. Then we bring the direct labor cost. That has been given as 30, 36, and then 24. So remember, direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, we get prime cost. Now, in the question, do we have direct expenses? There was nothing like direct expenses. But the nature of direct expenses is that if we have things such as hire of special machine, then that will be what? Direct expenses. Or we have hire of the service of an expert. So let's say we are a furniture manufacturing company. And after we produce the furniture, we hire an expert to come and check the quality of the furniture. How much money we are paying that expert is for what? Direct expenses. So if there is anything like that in the question, then we add up. But in this case, there is nothing like that. So we add these two guys, and that gives us prime cost. So what do we have?
55.
55. 64. 46. Remember my pro forma. After prime cost, I bring factory overheads. So I'm going to add factory overheads. But definitely you're going to be working for this. You're going to do workings for this. Not only because it is per unit, but because anytime factory overheads, you need to do workings for it. So if we go back to the question and see what is happening, the total indirect cost that a company is incurring is 1,337,400. Now the examiner said that under the absorption costing, please let's state it here that this is under absorption costing. Under absorption costing, overheads is absorbed using what? Labor hours. So the question we need to find out is, or we need to ask is, how do we get the total labor hours so that we can calculate the overhead absorption rate? So to do that, we are going to put the products up like this. If you check, the examiner said direct labor, $12 per hour, 30. So how do you get the labor hours per unit for each product? So we're going to have X, Y, and Z. Then we're going to have the hours here. For X, we are producing 20,000 units. Now stay with me here carefully. Times, what is the labor hour per unit for X? If it is $12 per hour, and we have 30 here, then how do we get the hour per unit? By the 12. Do you all get that? And that will be what? 2.5. So that will be 2.5 hours. Can I have an answer for that? $50,000. That is per unit. Remember, why are we doing this workings? Because we need overhead absorption rate. What is overhead absorption rate? The total overheads divided by the total budgeted hours. So to get the total budgeted hours, we must multiply the units produced with what? The hours per unit. That's why we are doing this. So why? Y is 16,000 units times Y2, what is the per unit? 3. Because that is going to be 36 over 12. 48,000. Next, Z. 22,000 units times 2 hours. 44,000. So we add it up. That will be the total budgeted labor hours. 142,000. Any question? Everybody okay so far? Now, yeah.
Why I'm confused on that?
Yeah.
So, in the question, so budgeted production and sales volume.
Yeah.
So,
meaning the units produced and the units sold are the same. Do you understand? So we're going to use the same units when we are dealing with production, and we use the same units when we are doing sale. So there is nothing like opening stock, closing stock. So all units produced are sold. So now that we have total budgeted labor hours, what do? We need to now calculate the overhead absorption rate. So let's go for it. So overhead absorption rate is going to be equal to the total overheads given to us in the question. $1,377,400 divided by the total budgeted hours of 142,000 hours. Sounds good?
yes.
So let's divide. So $9.7 per labor hour. This is the overhead absorption rate per labor hour. After who we are, you need to come back and ask yourself, you are calculating the production cost per unit. If you take X, how many hours does he use? So to get the factory overheads, I'm going to do the workings here so that you get the understanding. Then we pick the thing here. So factory overheads absorbed will be, we put a product like this, X, Y, Z. Overhead absorption rate, 9.7, 9.7, 9.7. Then hours, labor hours per unit, which is 2.5, 3, and then what? 2. So this is in dollars, this is in hours. We multiply, and that gives us the overhead, the factory overheads absorbed. What can we have? 24.25. Yeah? 24. How many decimal places did you say we should leave our answers? Okay. Next one. 29.10. Last one. 19.40. Now, it is this overhead absorbed. So we could say this is workings 1, this could be 2, and this could be 3. So I say from workings 3, I bring this guy up. 24.25, 29.10, and then 19.40. People, do you understand? Who did this? Who got it? You got it. You didn't. Did you? Where did you mess up?
The sales volume.
That thing. Yeah. You wouldn't think well. Yes. What do you think?
Yeah, the whole thing.
The whole thing. But are you getting? Do you get it now?
Yeah.
Are you getting it now? So that is the idea about it. So now let's. Hey, we are not lesson. Yes, thank you. We are not lesson. It's like I'm doing profit statement. So let's add up, and that will give us the full cost of production, full production cost. 79.25, 93.10, 65.40. So this is the answer to the first part of the question for 4 marks. For 4 marks. As you can see, the examiner's interest was not on this one. His interest was on the II, which has the 11 marks, the activity-based costing. So this is what you should do. So Hubert, now you know that if the units are given. So this is the difference between what you learn in class and what comes in the exam hall. I'm just giving you free stuff. So yes, we've done absorption costing, but there are different shades of questions. This is where you have to practice questions so that you know the various ways the examiner can say the question and you can answer. So you can put it down and then let's do the activity base. So III says calculate the budgeted food production cost per unit using activity-based costing. Now you see, the idea about activity-based costing is that came about because of the limitations of the absorption costing. As you saw with the question we saw, you realize that the 3 products, we absorbed the 1,377,400 among the 3 products using what? Labor hours. But the disadvantage of that is that using labor hours to share overheads among these products is not the best way of apportioning overheads. The way we could apportion overhead better is to look at the activities or the major activities within the organization that actually drives what? The cost of the organization. So under absorption costing, we are looking for what we call the cost pool and then the cost drivers. So we are looking at the various costs that we undertake, the major things that we undertake, and then the events that drive that cost. Let me give you an example. If you are looking at ordering cost, how do we determine ordering cost? The size of ordering cost will be dependent on what? The number of orders you make, isn't it? Isn't it? If you are looking for your ordering cost. So the number of orders you make during a period will determine what your ordering cost. So under activity-based costing, we are not looking at labor hours. Rather, we are focusing on what activities you actually undertook during the period, and we use that to apportion the overheads. In other words, under activity-based costing, we are going to be calculating the absorption rate for each of these cost drivers that has been given to us, and we will use that to determine the total overheads. Then we will use that to come and calculate the full cost. So what do we mean by that? Let's begin. So workings 1. Now, if we come back there, we will see that in the next year, DAFO also expects to incur indirect production cost of 1,377,400. We've been given the cost pool, so it means that this 1,377,400 has been segregated into what? These four components: setup cost, machine ordering cost, machine running cost, and then general facility cost. Now listen carefully. He's saying that when it comes to machine cost, that is dependent on what? Number of badges. So to be able to calculate, we need to look at the machine setup cost. So you're going to stay with me here carefully. It is saying that, so the cost pool is the machine setup cost, the cost driver, the activities that increases or determines how much cost you incur is dependent on what? Number of badges. If you flip over back and you look at this place, the examiner said that the badge size in units has been given to you as what? 500, 800, and 400. He has given you a setup cost to be how much? $280,000. NHYIRA share the $280,000 according to number of badges. But listen, he gave you badge size in units. So the question now is, how do you get the number of badges for each unit? Are you following? You are given the machine setup cost. You're going to be sharing that using number of badges. But the examiner didn't give you number of badges, he gave you the badge size. So how do you get the number of badges? To get the number of badges, we're going to bring the budgeted units up. So X, Y, Z. So production units. That is 20,000, 16,000, and then 22,000. This is the production units. And I'll say batch size, meaning anytime we are ordering, the batch size is what? 500. So we bring the batch size, which is also in units, 500, and then 800, and then 400. Now, when we divide the units by the batch size, that will give us the number of the batch that we make. Is it clear? You see, the production unit is how many units you want to produce. But the batch size is 500, meaning this is like batch costing. So each batch of products contains 500. So if you are producing 20,000 units, then how many batches are you going to produce? So we divide this by 500. And that gives us number of batches. What do we have? $40 here.
Yes. $20
here. Who doesn't understand? Sounds good. Let's continue. Now that we have the number of badges, remember, we are not just looking for the number of badges, we need to get the total badges. So add these three up, and that is going to give us 115 badges, I guess. True?
Correct.
Why do we need this? Because the overhead absorption rate for the machine setup it should be equal to the total 280,000 divided by what? The number of badges, 115 badges. What do we have? So 2434.78 per batch. Be careful. Per batch. So this is the overhead absorption rate for the machine setup cost per batch. I want you to follow this carefully. So that's the first thing. That's how we get the issue about the setup. We will come back to this, but we are calculating the rates first. 2. The second item there is material ordering cost. What is the total given there? Material ordering cost. What's the total? 316,000. How did they say we should share that? Number of what? Purchase orders. Listen carefully. We are going to be sharing this using the cost driver number of purchase orders. So we go back and find out number of purchase orders per batch. I want you to pay close attention to this. We are not giving the purchase orders. Rather, we are giving number of purchase orders per batch. What does that mean? It means if we want the number of purchase orders, we need to take the number of batches and look at the purchase orders per batch, multiply that, then we'll get the number of purchase orders. What do I mean? T. Number of purchase orders per batch. That's the key word, per batch. So it means you need to bring these guys up. X, Y, Z. And bring the number of batches there. 40, 20, 55. And or say, for each batch, how many orders do you make for X? So number of orders. 4. For Y, how many? 5. Then for Z, 4. This is it. Until we multiply, and that gives us the number of purchase orders. Do you understand? This will be 160, 100, 220. Add all, and that gives us total number of purchase orders as 480 orders. Now that we have this, what do? I'm writing from left to right. So we now calculate the overhead absorption rate for the material ordering cost, and that is going to be based on the total here, 316,000 divided by 480 orders. What do we have? $658.33 per purchase order. That's the second thing. Number 3. The third thing is for machine running cost. How much is it there? $420. What is the cost driver there? So what do we have to get? We need to get what? The total machine hours, right? If we go to the flip side, what do we have there?
Machine hours
per unit. Listen carefully, per unit. So what do? You need to bring the total units, then you can now get the total machine hours. So production, feed me up, 20,000,
16,000.
16,000,
and
22,000. Then we bring the machine hour per unit, and that is what respectively 1.5, 1.25, 1.4. So we multiply, and that gives us the machine hours.
30,000.
For here, 30,000, 20,000, 30,000. This is machine hours per unit. Sorry, for each product. So we add all to get the total machine hours. And that will be 80,800 hours. So now that we have the total machine hours, we can now calculate what? The overhead absorption rate for the machine running cost to be 20,000 divided by what? 80,800 hours. What do I have? 5.20 per machine hour. That's the third thing. So you need to know that in activity-based costing, the workings are going to be more because you're going to be doing these workings. That's why it's 11 months. Workings, no? But I believe you are getting how the calculations are being done. And most importantly, how the languages are stated here and why we are doing the workings we are doing. Because this is how you must understand it, because in the exam hall, this is how it's going to be. It's not going to be direct. You're going to figure it out. It's not going to be direct. You're going to figure it out. Something like this will be direct and you can easily do it. Then the last thing, general facility cost. That one is also based on what?
Number of machine hours.
So we already have number of machine hours. So we just go straight. So the overhead absorption rate for the general facility cost will be, how much was there? 361,000 divided by 61,400 divided by 80,800. So what do we have? $4.47 per machine hour. Are we done? No. Because so far, all we've been doing is calculating overhead absorption rate for each of the cost pools. Now, after calculating it like this, we need to put it together. So how do we put it together? Remember the first one here. Machine setup cost should be based on, is 2434.78 per batch. So we're going to calculate that respectively for each of them. Then machine ordering cost is 65833 per what? Purchase order. And this one is also this. So how do we put the pieces together? I'm going to put that here for us to do. So look at how we actually calculate the overheads. So in conclusion, the first thing we're going to bring is the machine ordering cost. Now I want to make sure I do a professional presentation so that my work is not clumsy. So you're going to stay with me very well on this. So I'm going to put product here, X, Y, Z. So stay with me. First one, machine setup cost. do we get for product X? The rate is 2434.78 per what? Batch. How many batch did X or will X make? 40. So that's times 40. Are you following the idea? That's why I said stay with me here, because I'm not going to be writing much. So this times 40. What do I get? 97,391.2. So we can ignore that. Then for Y, the same figure times what? 20. Go for it.
48,695.6.
So we could say 696, right? The same figure times 55.
We have 133,912.
133,912. I hope somebody is confirming.
913.
913.
Okay.
Okay.
Reverse 0.9.
All right. So 913. If you don't confirm, you do a chilling and say 18. Eventually on this out. Next one, material ordering cost. That'll be workings too. Look at it. It is 658.33 per purchases order. Come here. X. How many orders did X make? So 160 times this figure.
We have 105,000. 333.
So 33.
Yeah.
Why did 100? So 100 times that same thing.
65,833.
Next one. Z did 220. So times that same figure.
We have 144,833.
Good. Next one. Machine running cost. That's workings 3. What is our rate? 5.20 per machine hour. X did how many machine hours? So that figure times 30.
That's 156.
156. 156,000. Okay. Y did 20,000 hours. So times 5.2. 104,000. Z did 30,800.
So 160,000. 160.
Finally,
160.
106. 160,000.
160.
So 160, 160 like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one. General facility cost. Workings 4. You mean that 4 point what? 47. We are still using machine hours. So by 30,000.
So we have 134,000. 100.
By 20,000.
We have 89,400.
89,400. By 30,800.
We have 137,676. 676.
676. So this is it. Are we done? No, sir. We're going to add all. So give me totals of totals. So that will be total overheads. Okay. Okay.
So for X,
Mm-hmm.
we have 492,827.
So it's 576,580.
B, sorry, why?
So 307,929.
Now, the examiner said we should calculate the full production cost per unit. Everything we've done so far is just about the factory overheads. For that reason, since these are in total, what do? We divide this by what? Their production units. So we bring their production units so that we can now get the overheads per unit. So what's the production unit for X? 20,000. Y? And then Z? So we now divide, and that gives us the overheads per unit.
So you have 24.64.
24.64. $19.25. 26.21. Any questions on this workings? We are not done yet. All of these are workings. We've not answered the question yet. But all of these are workings. And this is the figure we're going to take to the full cost sheet. Yes, I'm listening.
First question.
Yeah.
Why were we using overhead absorption rate in the beginning?
Why were we?
Using the overhead absorption rate in the beginning. I don't get it. I don't know why we're using it.
Because we need to apportion overheads among the departments. The basis on which we apportion overheads under the absorption costing is using labor hours. So to calculate the overhead absorption rate, that is the rate at which we are going to share the overheads. So if you remember in the first question we solved, we calculated the 4 being added, 1,377,400. We divided that by 148,000, which was the labor hours. And that gave us the rate we will use to share. So the overhead absorption rate is the rate we will use to share. Are you getting the idea? So when we come at the absorption costing, the rate we will use to share changes or varies based on the cost pool that we are considering. Are you getting the idea? So when it comes to machine setup cost, the cost driver that the examiner said we should use is the number of orders. Then when it comes to machine ordering cost, the one he says we should use is the number of purchases. So the absorption rate is simply the rate at which you are sharing something. This video will be available on YouTube tomorrow morning. You can get, and maybe next week when you are coming to and you want it, you can get it. You can bring your pen drive and take it.